When it comes to Afghanistan, this course has taken the approach that the George W. Bush administration did from 2003 to 2008. We've pretty much ignored it. The Bush administration took little notice of Afghanistan during these years for one principal reason. The Iraq War was absorbing the lion's share of its attention. The fighting in Iraq was also consuming the Pentagon's available material resources, troops, equipment, and specialized capabilities. The struggle to pacify Iraq took just about everything the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine Corps had. There just wasn't much left for Afghanistan. There's an element of irony in the sporadic attention that Washington has given to Afghanistan over the past several decades. Substantive U.S. interests in the country have never been more than minimal. Yet once the United States helped blow up the place by supporting the Mujahideen against the Soviets back in the 1980s, Washington has never been able either to fix Afghanistan or to ignore it. In this sense, in Afghanistan, the whole tragic comedy of America's war for the greater Middle East has played itself out on a smaller, if still spacious, stage. For the United States, Afghanistan is like the proverbial bad penny, perhaps not worth all that much, but it just keeps turning up. During the U.S. presidential election of 2008, it turned up in spades. The election's outcome turned on two issues, one domestic and one foreign. The domestic issue was the Great Recession, the crisis that sent the U.S. economy into a nosedive not seen since the late 1920s and 1930s. Whether justifiably or not, George W. Bush got tagged with responsibility for screwing up the economy, much as Herbert Hoover, whether justifiably or not, got tagged with responsibility for the Great Depression. The foreign policy issue was Iraq. Here, there was no question about responsibility. Bush had started the war, citing a rationale that turned out to be bogus. Bush's team had then mismanaged the war, which had become a costly and unpopular quagmire. Here is President Bush in Iraq, hearing what Iraqis generally thought of all that. Sentiments in the United States were much the same. So going into the campaign, the Republican Party had two problems. To win, its nominee was going to have to explain away the twin fiascos attributed to the immensely unpopular Republican incumbent. By comparison, the Democrats had a seemingly easier task. Regardless of the actual identity of the Republican nominee, the Democrats and their candidate would in effect run against Bush. The presumptive Democratic nominee was Senator Hillary Clinton, carpetbag senator of New York. As a presidential candidate, Senator Clinton had a whole lot going for her, but she also had one big problem. In October 2002, she had voted in favor of a resolution authorizing Bush to invade Iraq. Before she had been against the war, she had been for it. And this is not where a Democrat wanted to be in 2008. Another Democrat, not nearly as well known as Clinton, but also eyeing the White House, did not have an Iraq problem. His name was Barack Obama. In 2002, Obama had not voted in favor of invading Iraq. He hadn't voted against it either, because at the time, he hadn't even entered national politics. He was back in Illinois, a member of the state legislature. Most Americans had never even heard of him. But in the very month that Senator Clinton was giving Bush the green light to go to war, Obama had appeared at an anti-war rally in Chicago, where he laid out his position. "I am not opposed to all wars," Obama declared. "I'm opposed to dumb wars." Obama felt sure that the coming war was going to be a dumb one. So on Iraq, Obama was anti-war from day one. By 2008, that fact contributed mightily to his success as an underdog in overcoming Clinton's front-runner status. By ultimately choosing Obama rather than Clinton as its nominee, the Democratic Party was making a statement. It rejected the Iraq War as an irredeemable mistake. Opposing Obama in the general election of that year was Senator John McCain of Arizona. McCain was a Vietnam War hero with an undeserved reputation for being a truth-telling political maverick. He was merely erratic and unpredictable, not to mention something of a sorehead. When it came to Iraq, McCain was pro-war with an asterisk. He was all in at the outset. After voting in favor of invasion, he had stated that, quote, "Giving peace a chance only gives Saddam Hussein more time to prepare for war on his terms." McCain wasn't going to give peace a chance. Yet when the war went badly, McCain turned on the Bush administration. He loudly criticized the war's conduct and pressed for a course change. By 2007, he had become an ardent supporter of the surge and of General David Petraeus. By 2008, he was insisting that Petraeus indeed had redeemed the war, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. As McCain saw it, the surge defined the issue on which the presidential election ought to turn. As someone with the foresight to support the surge, he had demonstrated the courage and wisdom to serve as commander-in-chief. Anyone not sharing McCain's view that the surge had produced a conclusive victory obviously lacked the necessary qualities to lead the country. Senator Barack Obama had not supported the surge. Moreover, he refused to concede that Petraeus had won a decisive victory. To do so would be to repudiate the anti-Iraq war position that formed the cornerstone of his candidacy. At the same time, Obama had to guard against being tagged as a national security wimp. In Democratic circles, it was an article of faith that being perceived as excessively dovish had doomed George McGovern in his 1972 run for the presidency. A similar perception had supposedly done in Michael Dukakis in 1988. Well, the ongoing war in Afghanistan provided Obama with a ready-made vehicle to deflect the charge that he was McGovern's secret son or a Dukakis clone. The Iraq War had been a mistake in Obama's view. Afghanistan, however, was a different story. That he described as, quote, the necessary war. If elected, Obama vowed to end the Iraq War responsibly. In comparison, Afghanistan was, quote, a war that we have to win, he said. If elected president, he would withdraw U.S. forces from Iraq, yet he would increase the number of U.S. forces in Afghanistan in order, as he put it, to finish the fight against al-Qaeda and the Taliban. By framing the issue as one of choosing between war in Iraq and war in Afghanistan, Obama and McCain collaborated to deny the American electorate a serious discussion of U.S. policy in the greater Middle East. As so often in American politics, this was a contest in which sound bites and carefully honed platitudes took the place of serious reflection. Like anyone else seeking high office in the United States, Obama learned to speak in code. As a candidate, his aim was not to call attention to difficult truths, but to reassure supporters and to allay suspicions. In short, tell people what they wanted to hear, not what they needed to hear. The inescapable result was bromides, generously garnished with lofty restatements of cherished American myths. So an essay penned for the journal Foreign Affairs and published under Obama's name began with praise for previous presidents who had, quote, ensured that America by deed and example led and lifted the world. And it concluded by affirming Obama's vision of a, quote, America that battles immediate evils, promotes an ultimate good, and leads the world once more. In sum, when it came to seriously reevaluating U.S. policy across the Islamic world, the 2008 election was a missed opportunity. Nonetheless, by the time Obama trounced McCain to win the presidency, he had explicitly committed his administration to doubling down on Afghanistan. Other campaign promises got put on hold. Obama's vow to close Guantanamo, for example. But on Afghanistan, the new president was as good as his word, even if he ultimately failed to, quote, finish the fight against al-Qaeda and the Taliban.